In 1995, a movie came out that pretty much changed the game for every 90s kid out there. It was our Frozen.
Let it go, let it go.
We couldn't get enough of this film. What was that movie? Basketball Diaries with Mark Wahlberg.
Why you acting like such a square ass?
Kids just went nuts for their Mark Wahlberg action figure.
What? No.
I'm kidding. The movie we went crazy for was Toy Story.
I'm talking about Buzz Lightyear and Woody. You know the guys from Toy Story 2.
Though, I do own a Mark Wahlberg action figure, technically, and a Donnie Wahlberg. So, you know, in my spare time, I could create Wahlburgers, if I wanted to. You better be following those instructions step by step if you're gonna feed that hamburger to my favorite girl.
That's it.
Ma'am, if you have too many more Wahlburgers, you ain't gonna be no cover girl. Toy Story Mania ran wild.
The film became the #1 box office champion of 1995.
See, here's a young me enjoying a Toy Story Christmas.
Woody. Buzz.
Look at all that Toy Story stuff. In fact, it was such a merchandising cow that it made 90s kids want to play with an Etch-a-Sketch or a Slinky. And if your parents didn't want to pay full price for those action figures, you would have to go to the Burger King, where you could buy puppets.
Get your kids one of 4 Toy Story puppets for just $1.99 each when you buy any value meal.
That's right, your Christmas could be recreating a puppet show like this commercial. So not only were real people who managed stores caught off by Toy Story Mania, even the fake managers in a Burger King commercial weren't anticipating this type of action.
I've never seen anything like it.
To infinity and beyond.
Some of them have been here for hours.
They can't put their puppets down.
Even old people wanted to play with these puppets.
Hi, cutie.
So I guess the chances of me getting it as a kid wasn't exactly a guarantee, as my mom found out that Christmas.
Because Woody the puppet sold out.
Oh,
So I couldn't get Woody.
Oh, I don't play that. It was Rex. How come Woody's always sold out?
The Burger King let us down, which I guess isn't the worst thing. He could be staring at you while you're trying to sleep. Toy Story became an insta-hit, a modern-day classic, and Buzz and Woody became Disney A-listers pretty much overnight. So while I may love Duke Kaboom, I'm more fascinated by the character who was there from the very beginning, that somehow has vanished. Do we know where he is? I'll examine that. Let's learn a little bit more about Rocky Gibraltar. Rocky Gibraltar is modeled after professional wrestling action figures. He also appears to have a troll-like head, and hair that spikes up and looks like the aggro crag. Is it blue? Is it silver? Sometimes even the toy doesn't know. Is the hair part of his mask? They seem to blend together. On the Toy Story 1 director's commentary, it is mentioned that the crew who designed the characters were given the company credit card and allowed to go to Toys R Us to look at what action figures and dolls were out on the market and to base their ideas off of.
Every animator is a child at heart. I mean, I think you have to be in this medium. And so you walk around Pixar, you walk around Disney for that matter, and it's like every desk practically is filled with toys.
So it's safe to assume that when they went to Toys R Us, the gang got to live Zack Ryder's dream and spend all their money to buy 90s wrestling action figures.
I think I was in heaven.
Yeah,
Remember we went to Toys R Us and bought toys with a company credit card during work hours?
Collected toys, and
Yeah.
of course everybody had their own that they would bring in.
Right.
According to this article from Screener TV, one of the places that the animators went to was the Unknown Museum in
California's Marin County, and that's too bad. Started in 1970 by a man named Mickey McGowan. This is a place that's totally devoted to, well, junk.
This trip inspired them to come up with the idea of merging a Chips action figure with a Hulk Hogan action figure. The only part that doesn't add up to me is that of the action figures in that time period that the animators could have bought, he doesn't look like a Remco, he doesn't look like an LJN, he's vaguely Hasbro-esque, nor does he fit like a Galoob or a Bendham. And for being based on Hulk Hogan, he looks more like Hulk Hogan's look in the Rockin' Wrestling cartoon than anything that Hogan actually wrestled in. His body, to me, almost looked more like a Stretch Armstrong from that time period. So I even had to backtrack to think maybe he wasn't even supposed to be a wrestler. But according to this comic strip, Rocky Gibraltar is a wrestler. And wouldn't you know it, there did end up being some Hulk Hogan influence. When I see this Toy Story parade, what is Rocky Gibraltar doing? That's right, brother! He's doing the signature Hulkamania poses. And Rocky's name comes from the idiom, "You're my Rock of Gibraltar." A Rock of Gibraltar is a sure foundation that provides a sense of safety. Now, doesn't that sound like what Woody is to Andy in these films? Rocky's belt also is a sign of the Rock of Gibraltar. What the ducky is the Rock of Gibraltar? Well, it's a formation in the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea known to the ancient Greeks as one of the two pillars of Hercules. And if any toy looked like Hercules, look at the bro lift! Rocky's in a constant state of working out. He's even putting in reps on those Tinker Toys. In these movies, he is the only toy strong enough to drop the ramp. Though blocking a door doesn't tend to work out for Rocky, since most of the time he's flung halfway across the room, spending most of his time in a constant state of KO. And being knocked around has probably messed around with his ability to communicate.
We're clear. Good play day, everybody.
As we see in the Toy Story storybook, that when Rocky does speak, it tends to sound like a caveman or a poor man's Rocky.
Rocky need to work on brain muscle. And they coming, new toy.
Rocky, see what I did there? Rocky Gibraltar, Rocky Balboa.
Hi, my name is Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion.
Speaks in third person like Rocky Maivia.
When Rocky Maivia was the Intercontinental Champion, I was the best damn Intercontinental Champion there was.
Rocky Gibraltar, I think The Rock owes you some credit because you spoke in third person way before he did. And a little bit of side trivia because I find this fascinating. The voice of Rocky Gibraltar in the storybook game? Pat Fraley, which leads me back to my theory for life. Everything eventually leads back to Krang.
Krang!
Shredder, if you keep messing up, I'm gonna replace you with Zurg. I like his style. Speaking of side talents that I don't think you knew that Rocky had, he's apparently one heck of an ice skater according to Toy Story on Ice, and there's a Mrs. Rocket Gibraltar. And Rocky, I feel, is completely mistreated by the other toys, even though he is their muscle. Who else is going to help Buzz and Woody get back into the moving van? Certainly not Mr. Potato Head. His arms fall off just lifting something small. You know, I'm not quite sure how this helps out Woody and Buzz by throwing all Andy's mom's stuff out in the middle of the road. She's gonna ask where it went to when she arrives at the new home.
Look, see? My arms aren't long enough.
Me help, Potato Head.
Hey, let go! Let go! Ah, hey, what do I look like, Mr. Taffy Pull?
Unfortunately, Rocky's not much of a thinker.
Phew, that was close. Ouch.
And I don't think that Rocky wants to get any smarter. As it shows in the Toy Story treat short, he's not interested in learning.
I'm overwrought with anxiety over this issue. I mean, what temperature was their blood? There's even a third camp that theorizes that larger dinosaurs may have been born hot-blooded.
And while he may not be interested in learning, he is always willing to help his fellow toy. He's willing to be your antenna and help you get the good channels, which Andy's mom wasn't going to pay for. He'll be the front line to guard you when an animal tries to attack. In the Super Nintendo, Genesis,
Now for Sega Genesis, coming for Super NES system.
and Game Boy versions of Toy Story, he's the guy who moves the heavy object out of your way. And he'll even challenge the authority if he believes a wrong has happened. He was willing to grab Woody and bring him to justice when he thought that he had murdered Buzz Lightyear.
No, Clint, you don't understand. Buzz is out there. We gotta help him. No, wait.
and in the video games, stop Rex from leaving that scene. So why isn't Rocky as popular as the rest of the crew? The kids love him. See?
It's alright.
Even if they're unable to hit a proper high five.
He didn't like that.
And he got invited to all the Toy Story main crew events. See, he's there at their sleepover, holding a flashlight, hearing a ghost story. So it's not like I'm bringing up a real fringe member of the crew. This guy was integral to the first movie. So that leads me to my big question. If he was always around, why is he now forgotten? And that starts with the merchandise. For a movie about toys, there's hardly any Rocky action figures or assorted items on the market. But heck, the success of Toy Story toys in general seemed to have caught people by surprise.
Such a huge shortage, as we all know, of Buzz Lightyears after the original Toy Story came out. And none of the toy stores would buy any. In fact, you know, they put orders in for only 60,000 Buzz Lightyears in all of the United States and Canada.
But I got my Buzz Lightyear, so screw those other kids. And the next year, they put out a spaceship for Buzz.
Buzz Lightyear's Space Explorer.
And I got that too. Man, that toy was sweet.
It's very nice.
I like this guy, yeah.
And having that spaceship, that just meant that I could make my own Toy Story sequels. Ones that would star Sting and Shawn Michaels.
Upstairs.
I'm going to space!
On Outer Space Adventures. Think Buzz Lightyear Star Command, but with more sweet chin music. And I think Buzz Lightyear needed some new friends because Woody's clearly dying in this commercial. The creators of these Toy Story toys seem to have the philosophy, the more annoying, the better. You know, the type of toys that make so much noise that parents mysteriously find them no longer working.
What Daddy say? What Daddy say, yeah?
I don't like confrontation.
Toy Story 2 did a promotion for McDonald's.
Hamburger, this is Small Fry. We're pulling into McDonald's.
Roger, Small Fry.
And they had 20 toys.
Seems to be based on Disney and Pixar's new movie. Looks like 5 toys each week. Platoon of 20 in all.
And he couldn't even crack one of those spots. And it wasn't like how the first movie got denied the rights to use G.I. Joe or Barbie. No, Rocky was there from the beginning. He was always free to choose. Can anyone with a straight face make any argument why Lenny the Binoculars has a toy, but not Rocky? And if you want to get yourself a Rocky Gibraltar figure, you're gonna have to take out a small loan to pay for it because there's such limited representation of the guy. Except for some reason, he has a Hot Wheels car, of all things. I guess that's not too crazy. You could also buy a Disco Inferno car or a Home Improvement car. It's true, I own one. So why was he forgotten? I had to go even further back into production of this movie to get some answers. First, I looked at the original drawings, the height reference guide. But then I looked at the early production of the movie, and scenes where Rocky was totally in it, missing. The scene where RC is thrown into the moving van and destroys the toys, no Rocky. Nor is he originally shown to be one of the toys that rebels against Woody when they think that he's murdered Buzz.
Hey, he slipped. I tried to. I couldn't hold that. It was an act. He slipped. Hey, I don't see him. I think he fell onto the street.
And let's just say that the original versions of some of these Toy Story characters were a lot more...
Off the bed. Hey! Off the bed!
You gonna make us, Woody?
Sadistic?
1, 2... Stop! Don't throw him off the bed!
Yeah.
Throw him out the window like he did to Buzz!
But Rocky can be seen as soon as the CGI is added. Also, Rocky shows up in the original sketch animation of the toys that greet Buzz.
Buzz Lightyear to the rescue.
Wow. Hey.
Rocky Gibraltar, to me, is the most tragic character in the Toy Story universe. While Woody's always having these existential crises about being left, being abandoned, well, Rocky actually was. Between part 2 and 3, he's gone.
Yeah, we've lost friends along the way. Wheezy and Etch and
Bo Peep?
Yeah, even Bo. All good toys who've gone on to new owners. But through every yard sale, every spring cleaning, Andy held on to us.
If the movie's all about foreshadowing what may happen in the future, think about the scene where Woody gets tossed in the trash. Those arms pulling him down? Doesn't that kind of look like Rocky's arm, just with a different color wristband? Maybe that's his tag team partner. Maybe that's Mrs. Gibraltar. The second part of this video will deal with where Rocky may have gone to. Between 2 and 3, he's missing, and I found a few different alternate timelines where he may be. Now when we cut into the beginning of Toy Story 4, there's a rescue scene with RC that shows how Bo Peep went missing. I don't see Rocky anywhere around here, and as we know, he's the muscle. So for a job like this, they would have needed muscle, but it's not there. So my guess is Rocky was gone before this scene. So where did Rocky Gibraltar go? Since he never met Bonnie, I can safely rule out that he's never heard Forky ask a question. Helped Barbie and Ken vacation. He's not meeting any lost fast food toys, and he's not raving with Bonnie's pool toys. He's not meeting Combat Carl.
Combat Carl's seen things. Horrible things.
Or this not a Transformer. He's never seen dinosaur people, and if I missed anything in the Toy Story 3 video game, he's not there either. So here's where I'm going to introduce the idea of multiple timelines. The game Kingdom Hearts 3 has a scene where the crew goes to the Toy Story world, and it's still in Andy's room, putting it between 2 and 3. Which this timeline is confirmed on the website Game Rant. The invaders are in Toy Story World and have been there before according to this dialogue.
Woody, what gives? Shh.
Are they back?
They're taking away friends of Buzz, Woody, and the gang.
I bet they're here to figure out why all our friends have gone missing, and why Buzz's laser started actually lasering, and all the weird stuff that's been going on.
Could one of those friends have been Rocky Gibraltar? The invaders have also taken away Andy and Molly from this world.
It wasn't always this lonely. One day we woke up and we were the only toys left here. Nobody's heard from Mom, Molly, or Andy.
These interactions cause some sort of a rift in time, and I think this is where my timeline idea makes the most sense.
No, they just showed up a little while ago.
In fact, those Heartless materialized right after all of our friends up and vanished.
You don't think.
Well, gee, it can't just be a coincidence.
So that forces Buzz and Woody to assist the Kingdom Hearts crew to find the aliens and Ham and the army men who've now all gone missing as well. By kidnapping their fellow toys, they're hoping to ruin the hopes of Buzz and Woody.
Does that mean we'll all be like Buzz? If we don't find Andy?
Wrong! Distance doesn't matter. Andy's part of their hearts, just like my friends are part of mine. You can't rip that apart.
And that eventually does get to Buzz Lightyear, who becomes, for a moment, slightly evil.
Buzz has been taken over?
What did you do to him?
But Woody realizes that while Andy's not with him, he's always with Andy.
Remember this, our hearts will always be connected to Andy's. No matter what you do.
And that's something you'll never understand, because you're hollower than any toy.
And this breaks the spell, and the two return back to their universe with the slightly less intact crew in hand.
It's time for us to go home to Andy's room.
But Xehanort told us that room isn't even his real room.
Can you prove that any of that nonsense is true? Oh. And even if that Andy's room is fake, it doesn't mean he's not somewhere in this world with us. I'm going home to wait for him. No more debate.
And while skimming through the rest of the game, there doesn't seem to be a payoff of Andy or anybody else returning to that universe. So I'm assuming not only is Andy still missing, that's where Rocky went off to.
Sir, yes, sir. Roll call. All toys fall in.
And for the amount of roll calls that these toys have to do to make sure they're all there, they don't seem to be that thorough.
All civilians fall in position now. Single file.
But then I have a second theory and a second timeline. This one is based off Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue for the PS1, PC, and N64.
Toy Story 2 video game, you are Buzz Lightyear. Life is good.
In the movie, when they go to Al's toy barn, guess who doesn't join them? That's right, Rocky stays home. But in this video game, there he is. He joined. He's part of the crew to go save Woody. As you progress in the game and get to level 13, Airport Infiltration, there's Rocky. In exchange for weights, Rocky will give you a Pizza Planet token. Now, at the airport, that's a scene at the end of the second Toy Story. So I'm going to assume that Rocky in this version is left at the airport because he had to stay back with Buzz Lightyear and fight off Stinky Pete and his never-before-seen goon. Oh God! Alternate dimension Woody is terrifying! But then again, that would make it hard to believe because you see him in the crowd when Wheezy sings the closing song to the second movie. Listen to Rocky in the Storybook game.
The fun and excitement of Toy Story come to your home computer. Toy Story on CD-ROM.
The only game where Rocky has actual dialogue.
No one ever helped Rocky before.
Poor guy even had his role cut out of the Disney Cruise performances.
Great. Everyone hear me?
He's not even there for the toy roll call.
Great. Okay.
Nor is he part of a revenge mob, or is the toy that lowers the ramp. Though that's kind of a weird play anyway. Nobody even sings Strange Things in it.
In a couple of days, everything will be the way it was. They'll see. They'll see. I'm still Andy's favorite toy.
So I went looking even harder for Rocky, and he doesn't show up when you tour Andy's room in Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure. And how does he not show up in this game? This game has Woody doing tricks off a toilet. He doesn't even show up in other games where you tour Andy's house. And it's not crazy to think that if you explore the video game of Andy's room, that you'll find Rocky. You do have other characters pop up. He's not in Andy's room, nor is he in Molly's room, who I guess now really also enjoys Buzz Lightyear. Toy Story 3's video game seems to show no boxes of toys in the basement. Surprisingly, he makes the most out of his opportunities and is part of the Toy Story kart racing game.
Rocky! I said I want a nice, clean fight!
And man, is he pumped! He's a winner, baby. He's a winner. There were 2 more Toy Story 3 scripts that I found that were unproduced. The first one has Andy staying with his grandmother while his room's being reconstructed. There's a toy gathering scene early on in that script. I would assume maybe Rocky's in that part. And maybe at the end when he gets reunited with the toys on the shelf. The other script, I did find 1 mention of Rocky. And the second script I found is that famous recalled Buzz Lightyear idea, featuring exciting things like eBaying, and a horny for Buzz Lightyear Mrs. Potato Head. And again, Rocky has to sit the adventure out. He and the script know the toy's hierarchy, and they even refer to an A-list and a B-list toy. Though I'm a little skeptical that this is a real script considering this blunt description of Andy. In the produced Toy Story 3, there's only 1 brief shot of Rocky in the background. I tried to see if he was in any of these group gatherings of toys during the Andy growing up montage, but I'm not seeing him. There's also the scene where Woody and the remaining toys confirm that there's nobody else left.
Slink, gather everyone up.
We are gathered, Woody.
Okay.
Also at Christmas time, I discovered the existence of Toy Story Christmas books, and through a brief skimming, no Rocky either. And this takes place in Andy time. So you would expect the people who make these movies to remember Rocky, but here's director Josh Cooley with a clip where he talks about every Toy Story character ever.
Hi, I'm Josh Cooley, director of Toy Story 4, and this is every toy in the Toy Story movie. The aliens, Barbie, and in Toy Story 2, we have tour guide Barbie, Benson, Bo Peep, Buttercup, Dolly, Mr. Pricklepants, Peas in the Pod, Trixie, Bullseye, Bunny, Ducky, Buzz Lightyear, Chatter Telephone, Chuckles, The Combat Carl, Duke Kaboom, Etch-a-Sketch, Evil Emperor Zurg, Porky, Gabby Gabby, Giggle McDimples, Ham, Jessie the Yodeling Cowgirl, Ken, Lenny the Binoculars, Lotso Huggin' Bear, Big Baby Bookworm, Chunk, Monkey, Sparks, Stretched, Twitch, Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head, Mr. Shark, Mutant Toys, RC.
We're in the R section, and
Rex, Robot, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Sarge and the Army Man.
No.
Slinky Dog, Stinky Pete the Prospector, Utility Belt Buzz, this is Wheezy, Woody the Cowboy, and that is every toy in the Toy Story movies. You think we missed any? We didn't.
That's a snub. Not only did he mention the Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but the Rock'em Sock'em Robots got to be part of Woody and Buzz at
the Academy Awards. Hey, Buzz, isn't this exciting? May I help you, sir?
Hey, watch the bag!
It's just a security precaution, Woody.
Where is Rocky Gibraltar? Well, our timelines have concluded that he either was sold in a yard sale, never to be seen from again, when Andy's mom did some cleaning, or he's in the Kingdom Hearts 3 timeline, missing, along with the other toys and Andy and Molly. He's in the Toy Story 2 video game timeline where he stayed at the airport, or that scene where Woody was thrown in the trash and the arms that pulled him down look like Rocky's. That symbolizes maybe Rocky was thrown in the trash. I'm not quite sure. Maybe Woody got rid of him because he was so angry that Rocky would have the nerve to spin him overhead while he was trying to get back to Andy. Quite frankly, I think Rocky suffered a great injustice. How come he's not allowed to show product for Target?
Saddle up and get on board!
Keep your parts in the cards!
Hey, wait for me!
Or UPS.
Never fear, civilians.
A postal carrier?
You guys need a priority mail flat rate box, only from the Postal Service.
But you can't feel too bad for the guy, because at least his character made it into the first movie. Unlike this weird tiger chew toy thing that was in Sid's room.
In Sid's room, there's things much worse than death. Shakes was lucky.
Hi, it's Joe from VCAM TV Studios. If you like this video about Rocky Gibraltar, do me a favor and watch one of these other videos where I talk about an old TV show or do some research on some random thing or make a viral video. There's also like podcast stuff that I've done, and the views on all this stuff aren't spectacular for the amount of work that goes into them. So I'm begging. That's right, I'm begging. So if you're still watching me, that means you're not watching one of these other things. And that would be bad. That would be very, very bad. A lot of stuff going on with my hands here. What am I doing? Like, click, subscribe. Honestly, there's old shows. There's like, I don't know, riffs. You kids like riffs.